want everyday wine. I'm not into that whole, I just buy wines to drink every day. That's my go-to wine. And I try to keep it around 10, $15. No more for my everyday drinking wine. And that's fine. But sometimes, in specific instances, it's time to load up. And I'm going to give you an example what I mean by that. Hi, I'm Larry Baker. I'm a certified level 2 sommelier with the Court of Master Sommeliers. And I got back from Italy, so that's great to be doing some videos. I'll be doing some written reviews as well. I think now, at least in my personal world, with education and speaking to a lot of wine consumers, I think some people, still the average consumer doesn't, but the wine enthusiast is starting to learn how important vintage is. The year that the wine was made is important in all forms of wine at any price point for the most part. I mean, you don't buy by a brand, you don't buy by a grape, you don't buy by a country, and even if you did, if you bought by a brand, people make the mistake all the time and go to restaurants or a friend's house, and they have this wine somewhere that they take a picture of the label and they go chasing around everywhere online on the internet looking for this brand, and they tell you how particular they are about wine and they just love this wine, but the truth is they have no clue. The one important factor that they don't know about is the year that they drank, and if they can locate that wine and the retailer has a different year, they go through all that problem of shipping or whatever they do, or having it pay charges for getting it FedEx to them, and they don't get the same wine because there's going to be a mixture of different grapes. It could have been a rainy year, it could have been bitter grapes, it could have been the ripeness, the sugar levels, the alcohol. Everything changes about that wine. So I'm all down with the everyday wine because I'm in that $10, $15, under $20 price range for what I consider an everyday wine. But occasionally, not a brand, don't go crazy if you like a brand, unless it's that specific year, that you like that wine. Buy it now. Don't say I'm going to keep buying that wine for the next 10 years. That's all I'm going to drink, because the years change and so does the wine. And the flavor profile of the wine is going to change. So, what I'm saying is there are certain benchmark years all over the world, wherever they produce wine, that is the time to get out of that. If you can, stay on that everyday price range, if that's your budget, within your mean. But when a certain area, for example, 2010 Brunello di Montalcino's, to me, I told everybody I know, forget the brand, forget the producer rather, of this Brunello di Montalcino. And I had friends that listened to me, even in Virginia. A good friend, shout out to my friend Mr. Bardiak there in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, who wrote me. He, I think, literally pulled up with a U-Haul to a major retailer in Virginia and just bought every 2010 Brunello he can find, because that was a benchmark vintage. Doesn't make a difference who produced it, what restaurant's carrying it, that's that year. 2012 for me, 2012 in Oregon for Pinot Noir. It was a very ripe year. Some people think it was too jammy, but I think the great producers of that year, it was time to, I know when I was working in the restaurant side at the Brazilian Steakhouse, I loaded up on every 2012, Oregon Pinot Noir that I can get my hands on, because I knew I was doing them right. Even if they didn't sell right away, they would be good forever, and you could even charge more down the road because you'd be the only restaurant that was still carrying 2012, Oregon Pinot Noirs. Well, '05 was an interesting year in many places in the world. I think especially in France. I think 2005 in Bordeaux, in Champagne, France, in the Rhone, in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and especially Bordeaux. '05 Bordeaux to me was one of those benchmark years, like '09, very similar to 2009, where I would suggest, and now we have here right now going concurrently 2015. 16s are going to be great, but they're not drinking well now. But 15s, there's not especially a right bank Bordeaux that you can buy that would be at $9 a bottle, $10 a bottle. Every 2015 I've tasted is right on the money, ripe and ready to drink now or to age. And that's how '05 Bordeaux needed aging, but it was such a benchmark year in France and different regions that I personally loaded up, and in my cellar I have a lot of those vintages of this year. So I'll give you an example, especially here. Chateauneuf du Pape. This is Chateau de Beaucastel, one of the famous producers of Chateauneuf du Pape. I'm surprised I love this producer because they are known for a little bit of funk, a little bit of Brett in their wines, but not too much that it bothers me, so that it tastes like a wet horse. Just gives a certain characteristic to this producer. But this is an '05. I bought it, I have 3-4 bottles of this vintage of this Chateauneuf du Pape, as well as other brands of Chateauneuf du Pape, because it's the year that I bought. I splurged, I stocked up. I know that I'll have it while it's available. Not, I'll come back later, because the next time I come back, it's going to be on the 2006 or 2007, and it won't be the same as that benchmark year. See what I'm getting at? Doesn't mean the price, but when you find a wine of a certain year or a certain region has a year, buy every brand from that year and load up. That's the time to have your wines for your cellar, that you'll have a supply that lasts you long to remember such a great benchmark year. This was an interesting project called the Winemakers Collection that I picked up. It's an '05. They had different winemakers make this Bordeaux. This is oenologist famous Michel Rolland, and still not opening. These wines were 2019, probably still wouldn't drink right now, but I've got it. I went out and bought everything from France, most of the stuff from France, '05, because it was a great vintage, so this is the time to stock up. Not now. Go around looking for '05 Bordeaux, very difficult to find, and maybe thousands of dollars on a restaurant wine list. Winemakers Cuvée, one day, special occasion, maybe tomorrow. I'll open it up. And also from Bordeaux, one of my favorites, Chateau Clerc Merlot. This is part of the Rothschild family. This is Pauillac. This is a Grand Cru Classé Bordeaux. And this was special. This one I had to find on the internet, and it's again 2005 vintage, so that's the key to the wine and Bordeaux. So in summation, even if you're in the, like right now, 2015, I'm telling you, message out there, you like Bordeaux, and and you're in the $10, $12, under $20 price point. I say go out to every retailer, everywhere online, see if anybody's got whatever 15s they have. They're starting to come in 16s now. So again, that vintage is just not tight, but 15s are not ready to drink yet. They're very tight. 15s, buy all you can, and everyday drinking, you could have a storage, at least 30, 40, 50 bottles or whatever of price point, even $10. I've had Bordeaux's from 2015 that are ready to go right now, and you're stored up, and you don't go back to the store and just buying by that brand. You're buying by the vintage, which is the way you should buy, and that's the time. Otherwise, you buy your one bottle here, you try different things every time, but when you get an extraordinary vintage, like certain years in certain places, that's the time. I imagine those people who bought 2000, Bordeaux, or 2002 champagnes. I just had one in Italy, Bollinger RD, recently disgorged 2002. Mamma mia, this was the best champagne of my life because it was 2002, 96, 95. Those benchmark years are the years you need to not go crazy with $1,000 bottle, but buy years from that vintage, any producer, because odds are you're going to get a great wine from any producer in that area. A decent winemaker always makes, more than decent wine, great wine, and buy those years and stock up, and then go back to your everyday wines until you hit another benchmark year from another area. For further questions or information or recommendations of certain vintages that you need to know, you could always, just by following me, my blog right here at LarryTheWineGuy.net, put your email address in and answer the reply that you did follow this blog, and you'll get my ways, or many ways, to contact me personally through phone and text and FaceTime and Skype and all of that.